Hi there, I'm Scotty,
And I'm Stevie.
and we're coming to you for another Books, Beans, and Candles, Tea and Tarot video podcast thingy
Thing.
right here in Birmingham, Alabama. Our live event is always on the first Friday of the month at 6:30. Um, we have Sips and Stars, an interactive astrology event that happens the third Friday of each month. And Magic City Pagan, a different discussion topic each month, is on the fourth Thursday of each month. Coming up at the end of April, the 25th, 26th, and 27th, Christopher Penzak, author and really nifty guy, will be here giving a series of lectures and workshops. You can find more information about that on our website, bookbeancandle.com. And I don't know the date, but I do know we're going to have a public ritual for Ostara, and that'll be around Ostara time.
Ish.
So do check us out, and you can follow us on all social media thingies as well. So we're coming up into February. This is for February, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a thing that a lot of people like to deal with in February.
Deal with. Yeah, one could say that.
Yeah. So it's Valentine's Day, of course. And so lots of folks are interested in their relationships or love or things like that. And I know that the number of readings I get related to
So much.
that goes up this time of year. And it's not really a judgment. It's just that's one of the things that is really important to folks.
Yeah.
During this season, where we got lots of relationship readings and stuff, a lot of folks consider the Lovers to be the relationship card, but to me, it really isn't.
No, not in a touchy-feely romantic way anyway. There's so many other cards that fulfill that role a little bit better.
Like the Two of
Like the
Cups.
Two of Cups.
So here in this Two of Cups, this is the Rider-Waite-Smith Two of Cups, and that's sort of the traditional one, the one that a lot of folks are going to be familiar with, and the one that a lot of other decks are based on.
Right.
And that's where we see that connection aspect. And this is often shows up relating specifically to romantic relationships, but it can mean relationships of other kinds too, right?
Right.
I'm going to come back to it, but I want everybody to take note of this symbol here. We're going to flip back to that in a second. This card here that is from the Pulp Tarot. I really like this deck. And what I like about this card is it has a sort of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner vibe.
Yeah.
It's an older movie with Sidney Poitier, and it was an exploration of interracial relationships during the 60s. And I like the fact that it's got that sort of inclusivity
Right.
in the card here. The interesting thing is that it's like he's sharing his cup with her, whereas it's almost like he's like, I got a cup, give me your cup.
Gimme. Yeah.
And then we get to the Robin Wood deck. And in this one, it's very much like the Rider-Waite-Smith, but they are both hanging on to the cups, which brings up these symbols here, which we can see. And that comes from alchemical texts and is associated with the transformation and the alchemical process of conjunction. So, 1 + 1 equals more than 2 in that alchemical sense. So this card is from your deck, Stevie?
It's from the Slow Hauler deck. And it's a really fun deck. It's a collaborative deck, so it has more than one author and artist. And I like this particular interpretation because it certainly has the waters of emotion and very passionate and very sort of there and forward, but it does also have this kind of sword-ish vibe to it with the kind of exchanging of, we'll call it ideas, but kind of that coming from their mouths element as well. So really kind of highlighting this element of communication and of these mixing of ideas as well as kind of that mingling of emotion. So it's really fun, kind of harkening in its own way back to that alchemical aspect and the more traditional Rider-Waite as well. It's a fun deck. It's a weird deck.
Speaking of weird decks, here's the Wildwood Tarot, which is traditional yet not really.
But not.
And they've titled the card Attraction, which is another aspect of that coming together kind of thing. But here we see it's almost, if we think of horses as domesticated and stags as not, we have that duality there, which is what the twos often show us as a sense of duality. And they're both filling cups, but they are connected. And then back to this fiery kind of vibe we saw here in this one, we have this flaming heart. So does that mean everything's all passionate and fired up, or are we fixing to crash and burn?
Right. It's a fine line.
It always is.
Yeah.
This card is from the Urban Tarot, which is a Toth style deck, not based on Crowley's work and not on the work of Waite. And I really like what the author wrote about this. Robin Scott's the artist and author. And this kind of love is that first meeting, that first little crush kind of emotion, that newness, which is why there's all the pinks and stuff. And so the cups are the coffee. And the story that the author tells about this is they're hanging out working in the coffee shop, and they go to reach for their coffees and they accidentally touch each other, and then they notice, and that's when those sparks happen. And the lotus has it's that opening blossom, that blooming of things. So I like what this artist has done with this. But overall, the Two of Cups is really about relationships and connections with others in a more day-to-day kind of way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
But very much so, and I think also in ways that ultimately trend typically are a little bit deeper, a little bit more kind of egalitarian in a lot of ways, on the same page with a lot of things. Whereas if you compare it to the Lovers, which everyone's like, the Lovers in a reading, can have those connotations or can overlap with those connotations, but is usually a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more kind of focused on that kind of spark of creativity that we have with other people, as opposed to, here's the touchy-feeliness of it. And so kind of having to delineate that a little bit is always interesting when it pops up in a reading. So.
Cool. And so we're gonna do a little spread. I'm not gonna take your card, Stevie.
Steal it. You're like, oh, this is a good card.
I'm gonna put this in one of my decks. So the spread, we talked about an increase in the number of relationship readings, and I try not to dig too deep when I'm reading for customers. I want to talk to them about them and their relationship with their relationship with their significant other, or their desire to have one, as opposed to, is he ever gonna come back?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to read about the person that's not sitting across the table from me. That kind of seems
useless.
And cheating. Like, I don't want to. He didn't ask me to look into him,
right?
Or her, as the case may be. So the spread that I've done for relationship-y stuff is based around the Two of Cups, and the idea there is, and this is a technique we've talked about before at Tea and Tarot, where you pick your significator, in this case the Two of Cups, dealing with relationships, and then a certain number of cards before and after that where you find it in the deck, and that's what you read from. So we're not necessarily drawing off the top. So what we're gonna do is
gotta find her.
Gotta find it. I'm gonna have to shuffle it back in. And I'm doing 2 cards ahead and 2 cards behind. If it ended up on the top, it's just gonna be. But you can do this with any number of significators. I mean, you can, if you're looking at money or house, you can pick one of the pentacles for that. Here we go. So there's our Two of Cups. All right. So I'm going to pick 2 cards ahead and 2 cards behind. And the way that I'm reading these is laid out kind of like that. All right. Let's make sure everything's in frame, shall we? So this is our significator. This is just letting us know this is what it's centered around. And these cards here indicate strengths and weaknesses that we have towards that relationship. And this is advice for the card that's across from it, because that's in the front. That's
Right.
what's right out in front of us. So a strength, Ten of Pentacles reversed. So Ten of Pentacles is often family and home and legacy and comfortableness. A reverse card in a strength position.
I'm very much kind of looking into, at least contextually, there's kind of that ease, or at least willingness even, to break away from comfort, to begin embracing these newer, stranger, at least initially uncomfortable sort of realities or aspects of this relationship. There's kind of that ability to be adaptable, which we love our pentacles, but that's kind of not really their shtick.
Well, and it being reversed too could indicate that, because the earth element is very much a rigid
Yes.
element, and so it could indicate a greater degree of flexibility there as well, being more open to things that are outside that norm.
And with it having the kind of context of family and legacy as well, it could even be a kind of a non-traditional view of those things, be it like polyamory or open or whatever the flavor is, but kind of that breaking of traditional family roles in a way that maybe is a little bit more fluid and flexible for what you're embracing in this particular Two of Cups reading. So.
And so with the weakness, the thing that might need to be worked on or paid attention to, we have the Three of Wands, and I like this because it's sort of a sci-fi kind of vibe. This deck is based on, the artist made the cards like covers from old pulp magazines. And so we have this science fiction kind of way. It brings that traveling to other places. With the Three of Wands, that's sort of that building of that Wands energy. That weakness could be that, yeah, we may need to be outside the norm, but we probably don't want to.
Yeah.
It almost has a runaway or, beat me up Scotty kind of vibe.
Struggling to commit to the bit a little bit. We have maybe that desire for the thing, but the methodologies, the how do we get here isms is like, I don't know, dude, like that kind of sucks. I don't know if I want to commit to that.
And so advice for this, with the Wheel of Fortune reversed, which is odd.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about the Wheel of Fortune to me is that it's a round thing. Mm-hmm. It exists in cycles.
Yeah.
And so the advice would be to let things pass through those cycles, even if, as a reversed card, that cycle feels kind of on the downside. And you mentioned, stepping outside of comfort zones.
Yeah. It's not, we would love, I think, to just be like, oh, we're breaking from our established norms and have it be like this really transcendental, like really awesome feeling process. But in reality, with the Wheel of Fortune reverse is like, nah, dog, it sucks. And you have to really kind of embrace the sucking of it so that you feel like there's actual growth happening here, so that you feel the benefits of this thing. And
you have to step into you have to be comfortable with your uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Somebody said that, somebody probably a lot smarter than me. And advice for this one with the Queen of Cups reversed. So we still have that watery element, but she's often really deep in that emotional stuff. And so the advice for this could be, when we have that sense of that moving away, or how do we, or getting away, maybe don't dig too deep into those emotional sides of things, and just accept things as they are.
There's a saying that I don't remember where I've heard it anymore, but your feelings are valid, but also on the same side of that coin, sometimes your feelings are stupid. They're valid, but you also have to have like that moment of feeling them and experiencing them, have your cry or whatever, and then you're like, damn, that was stupid. Like you kind of have that clarity post-cry.
We put things into context.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing with emotional stuff, the Suit of Cups is all about that. is understanding that our emotions, as much as they suck sometimes, are another way we process information.
And when you're looking at that in conjunction with that Three of Wands, of like, it's okay that this is, we'll call it growing pains. It's okay that we're having that sensation of not wanting to do the thing, but like, bro, just do it. Because nothing's changing until you really leap into that.
And that's cool. And so what I didn't say, this spread could be used with all kinds of relationships, not just romantic or relationships, but relationships of all kinds. Our relationship to our work, our relationship to our family or our children's or our automobile. What I was thinking of when I laid these down was of Tucker the cat, one of our cats at my house, just to see how this would play out. So thinking about that, there's always some uncomfortableness, especially when he jumps on me in the middle of the night. And it hurts.
It hurts.
But we can use these kinds of spreads for lots of different ways. We don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into things. So I think that's got us for tonight. Yeah? Well, thank y'all so much for being with us. Again, Tea and Tarot live event happens at Books, Beans, and Candles on the first Friday night of every month at 6:30 here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Skaji.
And I'm Stevie.
Safe journeys.